How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and welcome to the individual look-ins on the Slam builds. This is going to be the very first one for the Curse on Leaf Slam Earthquake Berserker. So we're going to pop into this fella and just have a look through, and I'll show you through the character, and I'll show you how it operates, how I came to these sorts of conclusions, and whatnot. If you haven't seen the previous video where I put out a quick rundown on all 4 of my created league starters for you that involve the new Slam reworks and the Warcry reworks, although I can't exactly put the Warcries in just yet because my path of building isn't updated, but you know what I kind of mean, the ideas of the new Warcries and whatnot. Do take a look at that. Maybe it's in a card if I remember, who knows, but alternatively just check the channel, it should be there. But yeah, so this is an Earthquake Berserker, and I know it sounds a bit weird to start off, but we're stacking a ton of damage bonuses through Berserker, and with some of the new ways with Timeless Jewels, well, not new, they kind of ripped the node off another one, through Timeless Jewels with some of the new stuff, you can generate rage quite easily. Alternatively, you can use Berserker to just generate rage for you. And the way this works is you build rage as you're going through the map, you eventually get to the boss, and then you just dunk on him, and he falls over. It's pretty good. Also, Earthquake is just really satisfying. We also have Vol Earthquake, so you can use the Aftershocks to just run straight through a map and generate your rage for you really, really quickly. Just obviously slam with your Vol Earthquake, haul ass with a Quicksilver Flask, and all the small trails behind you will generate rage for you, so it's not actually as bad as it may sound to begin with. But yeah, let's get into the skill tree. You can see the damage over here. That's our aftershock damage and the initial impact damage. So we're looking at, I don't know how to exactly do this, if I should calculate both of them, because then it's like 5,000 and then 1.3 million on the aftershock, which makes it like 1.8 million, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's 1.8 million or not, but I guess I'll put it in the title. I guess it'll look nicer. But yeah, alright, into skill tree. So we start off with Resolute Techniques, so we don't miss anything. That's the first node to rush to. Then I'd recommend grabbing the whole mace cluster for AoE, and hits that stun enemies have Culling Strike, lets you kill bosses during acts faster. This will also lock you into maces, so we're going to be using a mace in endgame. But if you're leveling and you're finding, good axes, good swords, that sort of stuff. Can you Earthquake with swords? I don't know. If you're finding good axes or other stuff, maybe don't lock yourself into this too early. But if you want to commit to the maces idea, go for it. You'll get a ton of damage and a ton of AoE. From there, feel free to grab, endurance charges and life regen per charge. Should solve a lot of early on problems while leveling. Then we want to come down and grab ourselves Battle Cry for instant Warcries, which is going to be really useful in the coming league with all the new Warcry modifiers and whatnot. One thing I also forgot to grab, make sure to grab yourself Unwavering Stance as well, because cannot be stunned is very important when you're getting to later game bosses and that sort of stuff. So make sure to grab this. I seem to have forgotten it, but yeah, make sure to do that. I'd recommend it. Then from there, you can either choose if you want to go for HP early on. I don't really recommend it. I've made it to Blood Aqueducts on 500 HP before. Don't ask. It was a CI character. It wasn't exactly great, but we got there. You can grab all your damage down at the bottom here with Destroyer and the two-handed cluster for Wrecking Ball and Executioner, plus a Ribcage Crusher for AoE if you stunned recently. Ton of flat damage, that sort of stuff. Golem's Blood is also a really nice node because it gives you 1.6% flat regen, which scales up based on how much total life you actually have, which is really good for leveling because 1.6% of your max HP pool at all times is quite decent. Combine that with a Summon Stone Golem, and past level 30 or 32-ish, it's really hard to die. While clearing the axe anyways, unless you hit a Reflect pack and kill yourself, in which case it's kind of your own fault, isn't it? But yeah, grab the endurance charge there, grab the jewel socket here. I would leave the jewels until you're a later level, because you want to work on building them later on, generally, unless you find a god roll one off the ground, which could happen, but I doubt it. Life whenever you feel like you need it. Bit of two-handed damage there. And from there, we got a jewel up here. We have life up here. Endurance charge. Make sure to grab all of those, because you're going to need them. If you want to go Juggernaut as well, that option's also open. So if you're doing that, definitely grab endurance charges. And then up top, we get Serenity to solve our reduced reserve issues. You don't really need it, but, I mean, it's not a good look without it. So, grab those fellas. Fixing skill trees is such a bitch. And then Whispers of Doom. This is a fantastic node that gives you a ton of bonus damage, because it lets you have 2 curses. Speaking of moving into skills, we're looking at Vol Earthquake with our standard setup here, and just look through for whatever the lowest damage addition is. I think I would remove damage on full life, and slot in Fist of War for bonus damage and a shit ton of AoE. It's also gonna just look really cool. I like the animation of Fist of War. It's fucking good. It's really fucking good. So yeah. I just lost my train of thought completely. Fist of War over damage on full life. Damage on full life, still pretty good, but it's like the placeholder. My Path of Building doesn't have Fist of War yet, so yeah. I would assume it's probably going to be roughly the same. We'll have to see when we actually get the damn thing. But yeah, switch out Conk Effect for Ink AoE if you want to map like all day and don't give a shit about bosses. I generally just stick in Conk Effect and don't really care about switching it or switching my setup at all. I'm fucking lazy, I guess, you know, sue me. But yeah, moving onwards, we have Leap Slam with Curse on Hit, Vulnerability, and Punishment. This is a very interesting trick I have found recently that works really well for bossing, for map clearing, that sort of stuff. With the new changes to, hold on, but the changes to Leap Slam that make it feel really, really fluid. And your first Leap Slam can be cast like while moving to generate momentum, and it's really satisfying the way the Leap Slam works. Unless you're repeat casting it, then it's kind of weird. I decided to move my curses onto Leap Slam because this gives you so much more reduced reserve to work with, because you're cursing from this vulnerability and punishment is like what 66% reduced reserve to have it as blasphemy, which is pretty good. But if you're leaping to a pack, earthquaking, leaping to a pack, earthquaking, well, by the time you've think about it like this, right? Here's your target, you earthquake it, right? Here's your character that's blasphemy, leaping away with the blasphemy or around it as the explosion goes off. See what I mean? And to my knowledge, blasphemy only affects while you're in the area, so when you leap away and it explodes, they don't get the bonus damage. It's kind of fucking counterintuitive, right? You like my visual representation with the Italian hands? But yeah. So this solves that problem, because you leap in, hit them all, curses everything in a nice area, and then bang, leap away. You're in business. Simple enough. Fortify, because we're going to be leaping from pack to pack to pack to pack, or you should be anyway to be optimal. I also do this so I remember to fucking leap slam from pack to pack. But yeah, you just have to leap on a boss generally once every 10 seconds. If you're doing later game bosses, it's even better because you only have like less than 10-second damage windows. So you leap from wherever you're doing your mechanic to the boss, slam them, you know, one or 3 times, depending until their next mechanic comes up. Then you're running like a bitch again, because that's how we make boss mechanics in PoE. And then you leap back on them, and yeah. Auras, we're looking at Flesh and Stone, Maim, Pride, and Blood and Sand. Alternatively, you could maybe do a couple different things here, but this is just the simplest one I found. You could put in Herald of Purity as well. It says Maim works in my Path of Building. I'm not entirely sure why, but if this doesn't work, maybe look towards what's it called? Herald of Purity. I think I just said that. But yeah. We got Pride for bossing. Not as good on general packs, because obviously you're leaping in, earthquaking, leaping away. So you can switch Pride for Herald of Purity, as I just said. If you're looking for just constant mapping, it's a pretty good option. Blood and Sand, simple enough. Damage steroid. And for that, that's pretty much it. So onwards, we get Vol Ancestral Warchief with Culling Strike to just cull bosses if need be. You can alternatively do it yourself with the Skull Cracking. But if you're running away from a boss while the Warchief's beating on it, it's nice to have a potential to just like instantly snap kill it while you're running from a mechanic. This has saved me countless times, and I would recommend just slotting this in with the War Chief. You could alternatively do Curse on Hit War Chief if you really wanted to for bossing, if you find this to be awkward as well. Or you could just blaspheme the damn thing if you find it in prisons. And then Blood Rage. Simple enough. This is where we get Frenzy Charges. If this ever gets changed, I will hang myself live because I'll be very, very sad. Oh, I'm speaking really fast. And then lastly, we have Cast When, Summon Stone Golem, and then Molten Shell. You can do Cast When Molten Shell, you can do Self-Cast Molten Shell, you can do Self-Cast Steel Skin, which I've been finding a lot of success with, if you want to try that as well. And then War Banner. Remember to slam this thing. I always seem to forget to slam it down, but I'd recommend remembering. You get Adrenaline, which gives you a bunch of damage, but I generally just throw this on. Nearby enemies take bonus damage. It's pretty much all she wrote, I'll be honest. So yeah, that is the skills. And itemization, we're using a tiebreaker. So this means make sure that your Vol Earthquake is in your weapon, alright? Because we're giving it a 7 link, basically. Because we're giving it Endurance Charge on Melee Stun, which adds damage. And this is going to also make our DPS scale with Endurance Charges. So, Adrenaline. Juggernaut is really good with this weapon. As I said, if you want to take that route, feel free. It is an option. It's more of a consistent damage option than a ramping up one. So if you want to, go for it. Alternatively, if you come across the Combs rings that give bonus endurance charges, maybe they can get a look in as well. But we're just running steals for flat damage currently. And the rest of the gear is just life res, fist to attacks, attack speed, melee damage, helmet with earthquake damage if you can manage it. Some people also say less durations needed on earthquake. If you find that's the case, go for it. Obviously, it's a template. It's not, you know, the word of God like some people might think. But yeah, simple enough. I make these for SSF. Slot in any unique you come across. Anything you think that's cool. If you have a lore weave, go ahead. If you've got, you know, some fancy shit, go for it. If you want to try a Bringer of Rain, actually, you kind of can't run that because of the 7 link in the weapon. Never mind about that. But yeah, we got Aziri's Promise, which is simple enough. I'm not running Brutality to my knowledge, am I? Oh, I am. Okay. Aziri's Promise is useless. I'm retarded. Whoops. Lion's Roar. You can get Lion's Roar and Tidebreaker in solo self-found from cards. Divination cards. So do keep an eye out for those. Run a lot of delves, run a lot of the mechanic if it's good at giving cards in whatever league you're playing in. This is for Harvest. And you'll be able to get that quite easily. They've added the Tiebreaker card last league. I don't know exactly where to get it, but just give it a Google search and you'll know the map to farm, the way to set up your atlas for said map. Most of you, I assume, know how to do that nowadays. And that is pretty much it for the rest of the stuff. I grab a Onslaught on Kill Jewel, and then from there, any combination of damage, global fizz damage, area damage, increased max life is also really nice. But any combination of like damage jewels will work just fine. If you get life, it's pretty good, but you know, if you make a God Roll Jewel, slot that fella right in there as well. Maybe Murderous is better. I didn't do a damage comparison, but 15k to 30k. That's my math is wildly off. Replacing that gives bonus damage. So yeah, that's actually not that great, but you want one for Onslaught and Kill. Unless you want to get it somewhere else. Could maybe get it from a different part of the tree. Maybe, I think you can get it over here. It's all the way over there. Yeah, fuck that. But yeah, that is going to bring us to the end of my Curse on Leap Slam. It's a mouthful. Curse on Leap Slam Earthquake Berserker. I hope you guys found this interesting. Let me know if this is going to be your league starter or if you find any success with it. And alternatively, let me know what you are going to be playing on your league start down below. That's going to be all for me. And as always, take care, gentlemen. Hope to see you on the live stream on League Start. Take care.